good evening, and we are back for another episode of Celebrating Women for Women's Month. We are day 15 that we've been doing this, and our aim is to celebrate a woman every night for the month of Women's Month. Nee? So ons het nou al different topics gehad over die maand. Vanaand praat ons oor divorce. Ons het vir Soraya met ons. All the way from Kimberley mense. Die groot gat het al hoe groter geraak, maar sy's met ons. Sy gaan saam ons praat oor haar experience with divorce. En every night, ek het haar gevra, moet ek Engelse eetime gaan koop? Sy sê nee, ek hoef nie te worry nie, ons gaan dit mix. So that is what we're gonna do tonight. So, ons gaan net vir eens vir Soraya welkom sê, en dan gaan sy vir net 'n bietjie explain wie sy is, en moenie te veel, want die mense daar besig daar, moenie so vinnig alles sê nie, net wie jy is, miskien of jy kind het of so, en dan kap ons aan, en dan agterna vertel ons al die ander goedjies.
Yes, Ref. Evening, everyone. Ms. B, thanks for inviting me to this platform to talk about divorce. I'm Soraya from Kimberley, originally from Durban, but we've been living in Kimberley for the past 30 years. I have a son, 7, very hyper, keeps me busy. I'm very, very family orientated. So it's just work and home and family.
Okay. Hier is al klaar iemand wat sê, ek wil gewoon net hier opsit. François, Sekebreg, sê, super proud of you, my friend. So, jy het al klaar 'n support team as stiekem omdat die boeke gewen het. So, ons is nog altyd saam in gees en stem. So, ons wil net indelve into the conversation of divorce, nee? Hoe het het gekom dat jy gedivorce is? How did you start this journey of a divorcee?
Divorce is not very easy. People think it's just something, it's a piece of paper and that's how you get rid of it. But it's a lot of emotions that is invested. It's financially you've invested in that relationship. And one doesn't get married for the sake of thinking one day you're going to get divorced. But there's certain things and obstacles that come into your pathway that makes you realize, that sometimes your path has to end with somebody. So it was a difficult decision for me. There was certain aspects or devils that played a role in the relationship that I thought, okay, you know what? I need to get out of this relationship. Be that as it may, it wasn't as simple as what I'm just saying. I left and then I went back because my mother's a firm believer of don't live with regrets. Try your best to make it work. And if it doesn't work, then you've tried your best and you can walk away. So it took me 3 times moving out, moving back in. They call it the walk of shame. But eventually, I just decided, I have tried. My heart is at ease, and this is the next step I need to take.
Het klink baie familiar met die vrou wat ons gepraat het met from single mom to now married mom. Daai guilt trip wat jy ek gaan en kom en ek gaan en ek kom. So again, en miskien net daar die ding wat sy toegenoem het was dat die guilt wat sy opgetel het is met die feit dat ons almal die stages het waar ons moet deurgaan, nee? Ons moet matriek en dan moet ons gaan studeer en dan moet ons trou en dan moet ons 'n kind kry. Haar storie was ons nou aan die kant omgewerk wat die kind gehad het met haar verloofde en so ewen as sy geweet het sy moesie het sy maar gebly want nou sy nog klaar die kind en hy guilt, hy shame, soos die sê, hy walk of shame wat sy moes gedoen het, is like, dat iemand nou liewste bly vir die sake van die kinders. Is dit amper dieselfde ding wanneer het kom by divorce?
Yes, because you know what, sometimes you start to doubt who you are and where you currently are in your relationship. And are you doing the right thing? Is it not just because you are emotional at that time? So
Mm,
you need to also look at it from another perspective of, am I dealing with my emotions because of what is happening right now? Can you work through it? Or is it you
mm,
have worked through it, you've dealt with it previously, and you now need to move on? So there is that type
mm,
of guilt because, like I said, there were certain devils that played a role in my marriage, um, drugs and alcohol. And you say to yourself, look, if you walk out, this person is going to relapse. And you are the, if I must put it in such a way that you keep them anchored. And so whatever disruption they have in their life can cause them to fall back. And if they fall back, that guilt
mm,
then falls onto you.
mm, mm. Yeah, het klink weer eens familiar met die fact that, because we had the same topic with narcissistic behavior weer, maar sy het vir 25 jaar gebly het, en dit was daai van, ek weet ek moenie, maar elke keer, okay nee, ek gaan nou die kinders, of ek gaan iets doen aan myself, of, en nou bly ek maar langer van, ek wil nie die op my het nie. So, as actually, wat doen die aan jou selfesteem as 'n vrou dan?
Yeah, you know what? I think for me, walking out of a marriage or leaving the marriage, because we never had any children, I think that was somehow a blessing in disguise.
Mm,
Um, it was also a contributor to some situations at home or in the relationship.
mm,
Um,
mm,
but yeah, I think sometimes you think more for the other person, feel more for the other person, and you put yourself at a back burner.
mm,
So yes.
mm, mm. Okay. And now, how does it affect you? As you say, you do put yourself at the back burner. So now you're now single. Obviously, after a while of healing, I would assume you must now kyk daarom nog wel lid vir die deksel en so aan. Die pot. How does that then affect you looking at other men? Do you um is it like a thing of I've tried it and it's not gonna work type of thing?
For me, it was basically a trust issue, because I did have a relationship after my divorce that resulted in me having a child. But
Mm,
I had a lot of emotional baggage that I hadn't dealt with at that time.
okay,
So for me, I
okay,
was always looking for something similar to my situation. So I was not 100% committed because I had these
mm,
type of issues and the fear of the same thing happening.
mm. So you're always like on like the back foot, like I can't really be happy because I'm almost like ek moet nog gepunish word vir die feit dat ek weggeloop het van die relationship af.
Yes, I think it is that. And you know what? With certain things that happen within a relationship, it does start to dig on who you are as a person. You start to doubt yourself.
Mm,
When there's infidelity as well within the relationship, you start to compare, and
mm,
you yourself, your mind, it becomes so destructive that you end up in a depression, which I did go into, because
okay,
I've never drank in my life. And in the
mm,
space of a year and a half, I started drinking.
okay,
And that was for me just to numb that pain.
mm, okay. Um, yeah. Iemand vraag je, what triggers one to make the final decision, or do you make up your mind after several bad decisions? That is a very good question.
It's not just a once-off thing that happens. Like I said, I was with this person when I met him when I was 17 years old, and I
Okay.
got divorced when I was 32 years old. So I was with this person, and when things were good, they were good. This is a great guy. He just had his
Mm,
own demons.
mm,
And when he had his demons, it was something it would be, there would be an episode, and then things would then go after this episode, things would be fine for the next 2 to 3 months. Then again, after three
Mm,
months, it
mm,
happens again. So you're always
mm,
living on the edge. So it's not just a once off thing, it starts to become a trend. And this trend
mm.
then makes you decide, okay, it's not going to change. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what type of outcome you're looking for, it's going to still be the same.
Mm, mm. Nee, ik worry. En ik denk dat is wat mensen moeten verstaan soms, ja, is dat marriage is niet altijd maanskyn en roses soos hulle sê nie.
Yes.
So by difference kom ek dink met ons millennials is the fact that as soon as you don't feel happy, you kind of leave the marriage.
Mm.
Because you're not in love anymore. Maar wat is liefde nou in a marriage? It's meer like, it's an action word. In my keer verstaan het dit nie. Maar when it's like a situation like you've given it like years and it's like a constant thing where amper soos jy word afgetrek elke keer and you feel less than a person every time, then yeah, you have to go sometime or another. Um, so ja, ons verstaan dit definitief. En I mean, soos jy sê, dit was nie net 'n ding waar ek like hier soos dit nou gaan verby nie. Ek could like back and forth to see if it is the right decision and am I making it out of pure emotion or am I making it out of fact kind of thing. Um, gaan nou aan met you see the blessing almost of it was that the fact that you didn't have children together, so that made it easier to leave because this must nou nie as jy
Yes,
kan
there
wat
was
iemand
no,
explain nie.
yes.
Okay. En as jy miskien 'n kind sou moes gehad het in die huwelik sou dit 'n bietjie moeiliker gemaak het.
Ek dink dit sou I think I would have stayed for the sake of. And I think that is where most people make the mistake of. You think you're doing a favor to your child by staying in
Mm,
a toxic relationship where it's actually going to damage
mm,
the child. But for me, I feel that if I had had a child, I would have stayed because, like I said, he had his demons, but he was also a good person and he was very good
mm,
with kids. He longed for kids. So I would not even have faulted him by that day.
ja. Nee, ek verstaan dit definitief. I mean, ek kom uit 'n divorced home uit. So ek verstaan dit totally. Let gou vrae voor gaan. What was the reaction of your in-laws? When I got divorced, I was a bad guy, even though they knew what the child was up to. No. Okay.
Must be my in-laws, my man is van Atlantis, my
Okay.
ex-man. So I think the distance was good for us because there wasn't a lot of interference from their side. But
Mm.
his father and his mother was very straightforward. His mother would always ask me, like, what is happening? Is there something that they can assist with? But they knew there were certain issues with their child.
Okay.
They didn't actually agree with the divorce because they knew
Mm.
it would throw him off course and he would go into a downward spiral. So of
Mm.
course there was concern, but I had a very good relationship with my in-laws.
Okay. Okay, so ja, dis nou een van die positiewe sake soos hulle sê. Ons het nou klaar een deel wat aan die ander kant van dit wat experience het. En ek ben being the child from a divorce, we also experienced um the family almost like disappearing after a while because it was my mom that decided to divorce. So nou so dan was ja, maar sy is hulle kind en nou word jy ook maar gedivorce. Like hy's ook nou sien jou by or like ons praat nie meer saam julle nie. Um so yeah, it is a fact where people must come to realize that it is die man en die vrou wat in 'n verhouding is en wat jy bly in die kamer net, jy sien die vlieg daar op die muur, jy weet nie wat daar aangaan nie. So don't make it when that breakage comes, don't choose sides. rather
Yeah.
understand that this is like the same way when the person gets married, jy moet nie kom kante kies. Die enigste kan met jy moet kies is wat jy moet sit by die stoel sit en die kan of soos en hy kan, maar jy kan nie kante kies met die verhouding en ek dink baie kere interfere daai met die hele proses waar dit is vir die vrou dan moet ek gaan nie, want hoe gaan dit dus vir my affecteer, maar ook my kinders affecteer, and so then I stay longer in maybe like a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
And then I die like a slow, creepy death from this. What
Yes.
is some of the lessons that you've learned through divorce? If you should talk to someone else and say this is the lessons that I've learned, what shall you say?
I think the lessons I would tell somebody is that when you do get married, please have a anti-nuptial contract, because the person I was like, I just want a divorce. I don't want nothing. So I ended up with nothing. I just had my clothes on the back of me.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, safeguard yourself in terms of your assets. Um, go for counseling. It really does help. Learn to love yourself, because at the end of the day, in the type of marriage I pulled back from family and friends, which was isolation. And I think that's the big mistake you make, because you start to live for somebody. And I had to find a way of, how can I say, to communicate again with my family, to have that closeness with my friends again. Because
Mm,
I think about it, I ended up very lonely.
mm,
And I
mm,
had two friends that really stood by me, that, that. So make sure that the friends that you have are very true. They can be there and be supportive of you and tell you, listen, you need to get out of that party that you're in now. And you need to pull
mm.
yourself right. And you need to start loving yourself again and doing things that you love.
He slaat baie van die keynotes daar. The fact that, when we do get married, we kind of, my mouth had gesê klim uit die love bubble uit, because julle kan nie vir ewig in die love bubble bly nie. Daar's ander mense rondom julle. So we kind of get into this love bubble, en ons dink is net ek en hy en so aan toe, until like soos wanneer dit 'n ongeluk is, die kar stamp, miskien is dit like 'n ongelukkie, maar hy ruk van jou, wil laat jou besef dat as ander mense rondom jou, en net omdat julle twee in die love bubble is, meen dit nie spesifiek nie die hele familie nie. So baie kere ja, ons raak verlief, ons is net met die ou, en alles is om die ou, en ons vergeet daar is lewe aan alle kante van ons, until things and life kind of sets in, and nou besef ons like, ons kan nie met hom nie, en ons kan nog nie as iemand anders nie. So we kind of like also there's like this isolation happening, and then nou is ons like alleen en niemand verstaan ons, en van almal dink ons is difficult en almal dit goed. So ja, wanneer ons trou, moet ons regtig, you still a person that marries another person. Ons is nie, ons raak nie, ons is nie aura sê fusion nie, ons is like separate. Baie kere ons wil net ouers maak.
You need to have your own relationships. You need to have your girls. You can have your girls' night out. He has his boys' night, because you start to just, when you live for somebody, you forget about you. And for me, I made him my everything, and he had his friends, and he would go out, and I started to feel like I was maybe the security of the house, But I blame myself for that bit, because I should have then said, I need to go and see my girlfriends.
Ja, nee, definitief. Dit is 'n les wat ons maar almal leer, want ons klaar getroud is. Nou is ons like, ek is nie net hier vir jou nie, laat ek ook gaan. That is the one thing my mom kind of forced us to do when we got married. It's like, kom, ek en jy gaan uit, dat ek vir jou kan leer hoe om 'n vrou te wees in die marriage. So gaan sport, toe gaan sit alleen met jou boodskaps, en hy's obviously nou kind of voor, in Italian, sit down in a book so that you can experience that. That you are not just whatever a man is, and I think that is the lesson I took away, because my mom came like like I said, she was a divorcee. So sy het obviously die harde manier geleer and didn't want us to follow in that footsteps. En dan die ander ding wat jy ook genoem het was nou die fact that you kind of start feeling lonely because you isolated from all your friends and all of these things. Yes. Um laat ons in this waar die question ook opkom waar sê I blame myself for the divorce and did you also encounter this? Um and yes, because you're now isolated, hy is by sy vriende, so you have more time to think and blame kind of like you are the reason why of well dis as mens nou praat van my ma, dan dis waar mens kom by haar. Like because I knew I had to go to save myself, but now I feel almost guilty because I had to take you guys away from your father. And so she almost never really forgave herself for choosing her. En ek dink dat dieselfde tipe of vraag waar François opkom with the fact that she got blamed and did you also encounter that?
You know what? I think I can't say it was 100% his fault only. I also have my faults. I was also very stubborn. I think we just had different ideas of what a marriage was. So for me, it was that I had a certain picture of what a marriage was. And because we were together from the age of 17, I don't think we developed as an individual ourselves to know what we wanted out of life. We got married young, so we never had that young waar jy kan net losgelaat word, clubs toe gaan en al die. It started at the beginning that we would do the things together, and then it was like him alone. So it, like I said, with certain outcomes, you knew even if you kept quiet, whether jy geskel of jy still gebly, it didn't change the outcome of what was happening. So yes, there was times I thought, you know what, I could have done better, and maybe it was my fault. Maybe I don't know. You're always going to question yourself whether you play part and parcel to it. But what I can say is that after our divorce, it was like a very, I wouldn't say ugly divorce. It was just that I had all this anger inside of me and I didn't know how to speak to him, and like I had a lot of blame because I couldn't speak freely in my marriage. But after 4 or 5 years, he got in contact with me and we started speaking. And I think that also started with the healing process. Because I think I just needed at the time to hear, I am sorry. So
Yeah.
we're in a space right now where we're actually friends, where we can WhatsApp. I even sent him the picture and I said, look, you in Atlanta, so I'm featuring on Cape Flex. So tune in.
Yeah, no? Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So look, it all resonates with me. I've never been through a divorce. But it resonates with me because, like I said, my parents divorced when I was like 12, 13. So ons het almal daai as like a divorce wat ons almal experience het. So en ek en my ma baie close, so ek verstaan almal die frustrations. And then the lessons that again ek trou was dit nie weggespring van my af nie, because it's still that she then made sure communicating your relationship, because that is the thing that is going to kill you. En dat jy gaan frustrated voor raak en jy gaan moord wil pleeg en amper baie naby moord pleeg. So get yourself ready. So in a way, die lessons wat my ma geleer het uit haar divorce, het amper so van my marriage gesave. But then there's also that thing where, okay, my parents divorced and maybe that is also going to become part of my story. So it took a long time for me to be happy in my marriage because my ma het happy gelyk vir lank en toe as hulle gedivorced. So it almost got married, but no, ek wou amper nie gecommunicate en happy with it because like ek gaan anyway divorce. You understand? It's that thing. As a child, then you can't go through that as like, I saw them happy, I saw them not happy. Wie is te sê, die gaan nou lank al. Type ding.
Yeah,
So
there's
you
no
always,
guarantee in life. I think it just it's on a person's commitment and choices you make within your relationship. You know, I think we do take some fears into the relationship. My fear was that my husband would assault me physically because my mother
mm,
came from an abusive marriage. So that was my fear already in my marriage. And his mother always said to me, you know, die klonkie, you know how your Caetonians, you know how you talk, die klonkie, hy lyk sy hande lig vir die meide. And I was like, nee,
mm.
auntie, nie vir my nie. Ek het hom gesê as hy my kan klap, ek gaan seker die dag pyn, maar dan trot ek. So for me, he never did that. So that
Yeah.
fear of getting hit was, yeah.
Ja, nee, ja. Ons verstaan allemaal die goed, maar het is definitief. En ik denk dat ik like die topics elke aan. Is die fact that we can now see, normally als we praten over mensen wat trauma en wat trauma doen, die woord trauma laat de mensen like, ach, wat is dat nou? But if you break it down into the different topics, like you are talking about divorce and you are talking about being single and now you're married, en so wat allemaal die oren unweave sa mekaar, verstaan je actually hoe wat trauma doen, nee? Ons het nog een vraag is voor ik ga naar mijn vraag. Wat says, how long did it take you to date again?
Um, it took me a year and a half. And like I said, I wasn't fully committed into the relationship. I think at that time, you just want to feel that you're still attractive, that somebody can love you. So you're looking at all these things, and if a person knows you're vulnerable, they will use it against you. So yeah,
Mm.
I it took me a year and a half to get into the dating game, and yeah, it like I had my own emotional baggage, so it never worked for me.
Ja, ja, nee. Ons verstaan, nou, my ma het altyd gesê, julle is altyd makkelijk, julle is makkelijker even though you're fighting in a marriage, but being alone at home and divorced, then that's a different step. How did you deal with that? Because I know for her, she got involved with a lot of things to try and not be so alone at home the whole time, especially when we grew out of the home. How did you maybe deal with that?
Like I said, when I got divorced, I was lonely, so I started drinking something that I wasn't. I'm not a drinker. Like even today, I'm not a drinker. I will have one or two glasses of wine, but I started heavy drinking. I would
Mm,
go out and we would party, you know, try to make it forget. And I think in the state where I was partying, I met this guy. It was somebody I knew. It's somebody who at the time I felt was good for me because they knew my situation. It's
mm,
also the father of my child. But things never worked out because when you're in that state, you want to be loved, you're vulnerable, you open yourself up, and this person, the same person doesn't have the same intentions as you. But
mm,
I think you cling on to something. I'm not sure what it is, even though you know it will never work.
mm, mm. Is it that thing where from a young age they said that you will get married and you will have the white picket fence with the children and the father that's braaiing outside and the
Yes.
mother standing inside with the wat is lang ek het net so en sy maak ek kos uitren haar sy maak ek kos and almal is happy, you know. So I can't really think because we were printed that into our minds that we kind of ons wil dit maak werk, nee? Ons wil dit maak werk. Oek, die comments is baie besig vandag. It says, Shandwell Veri says, job fever, 25, the thing I feared the most has come upon me, and that which I was afraid of has come onto me. We should live like that. Uh, shouldn't love like this says you attract the very thing you fear. It is true, Chantal. I actually, after a while, I think I was married 3 years or so. En toen zei ik vir myself, kyk, as jy nou elke keer gaan wonder oor divorce, dan gaan jy probably divorce. So sit maar nou dit agter in jou kop and every day do something better. So if you want communication, you have to communicate better. If you want this, you need to do it better. En is baie week, moet ek net honest wees, is baie week, maar what I what I what I have noticed is because I don't concentrate so much on that thing at the back of my because my parents were married about 13 years. 12 jaar het nog bietjie like downwards. 13 jaar was nou like klaar. Where you almost like okay, ek kan nog 5 jaar wel voor ek daar kom, ek kan nog 6 jaar wel voor ek daar kom. Ek kan nog die countdown die hele tyd. And so afterwards, I kind of just decided, get no kindness. If it is that it doesn't work out, like you said in the beginning, where you kind of went back and forth, I must know that I did the best I could in alle opsigte. And then, but by now, I can't say I've done everything yet, and I haven't done everything the best. So that's ik kan niet aan divorcee. So that is my almost like my thing that I've kind of put into my brain to get me out of that sort of my parents divorced, and so I would also yeah. So what are some of I think that some of the lessons you kind of covered most of the challenges that you have gone through. Therapy for you, as you said, was communication. Speaking of the 3 or 4 years you said you spoke to your ex, what was that like? What was that for you? Was that like a release for you of like, I can be okay with myself that I've made the right choice.
Yes, I can say that because within our we talk daily. You talk to me daily. I'll go some days without talking. And it has nothing to do with anything that is bothering me. It's just sometimes I'm not chatty. I have
Mm,
my off days. And but he's asked me would I marry him again? Do I see a chance? And I've been honest and I said, it was what it was. We had what we had. It was special. You're not a bad person because we could communicate. He was very talkative. He was very open. We could plan. We could set our goals. So that's
mm,
why I say he wasn't a bad person. It was just certain demons that
mm,
was out of my control, something he could
mm,
not control. So I think what we had, as much as it was bad, there was also very good in it.
mm, mm, mm. So it was kind of like very amicable, and because you guys not maybe the procedure of the process of divorce, because you said you basically left with nothing. Um, but I mean, in the mental state of everything, there was julle het nie net by mekaar gekom van julle was bored. There was actually like real connection, and that connection also almost helped with the divorce.
When we got divorced, there was no connection.
Okay.
And I was very angry with him, Even though I would speak to him, I was very angry. I had a lot of anger issues because of certain
Mm,
things that happened. They contributed towards the divorce. Like
mm,
I said, it took about 3 to 4 years to get to a certain point where I could say, okay, you know what? I've let go and let God.
mm,
And with him also telling me how he feels and what he's went through, and if I should say it, regrets. And
mm,
I think sometimes he says it too much, that I need to tell him that, it's in the past. I have forgiven you. I think you have forgiven me. We need to move on from that point. So, yeah.
mm,
But I think I
mm,
needed him to apologize for the things that he did.
mm, mm. Yeah. And then the other thing that is now also coming to mind, something that the other woman also said, was the fact that that anger. Um, she was a single mom. She was with him for 6 years, and there was a lot of anger attached to that. I assume with you, you had that 3 years, 4 years of healing and counseling that you did on yourself. Um, so when you spoke to him, was that anger still there, or what happened to that anger?
You know what? When I said previously that you need to go for therapy, it does help. You need to go to somebody, and sometimes it's not even about the advice. It's just that you need to vent
Mm,
because within a marriage, there's limitations, and you cannot
mm,
really say exactly what, and you should within your marriage, but you somehow you restrain yourself with saying something that could be resentful or hurtful towards the next person. So for me, with the therapy sessions, I could be myself. I could say what I wanted to say at that time and the
mm,
feeling I was feeling. So
mm,
yes, I when I spoke to him, I was at a place, and then I had a child also. So my
mm.
son, I think, brought more peace and calmness over me
Okay.
because there was a
Mm,
purpose. I had a purpose now in life. And my purpose was to
mm,
be at peace with who I was, where I currently am, and what I'm going through.
mm. Okay. Like that. Iemand vraagt nog weer vraag, what would you do if the man returns all good? Will you consider if he declares he is undying love to you? Ik denk ze nog net het geantwoord. But maybe if there's more that you maybe have forgotten to say.
No, I wouldn't. On my side, I've made it known that yes, I would not reconsider connecting again. As a friend, we were friends in any case before we started dating. So I value the friendship, and I
Mm,
understand who he is because in a marriage, you, the wife, knows that man better than anybody else. That's niemand wat vir jou gaan sê nie. You have that connection and that intimacy with that person that you know. And sometimes as a woman, your sixth sense kicks in when you know certain things are about to happen or going to take place.
mm,
So yes, for me, he has changed. He's grown from it, but I would not take him back.
mm. Did you feel, when about did you feel that, okay, I am now going to divorce? Was it like by the second time you returned, or like the last time you returned? Or did you just return to make yourself feel better, like I've tried everything? Because you said you did it like twice or thrice. When did you really know this is it?
I think when I knew it was that I had gotten sick. I did not know what was wrong with me. I laid in bed. Um, he came home one day and then he said to me, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I don't know. I just don't feel well." And then I went to the doctor, came back. The doctors didn't know what was wrong with me. And because I'm asthmatic, I couldn't breathe. So I went to the
Mm,
hospital, only to
mm,
find out that I had measles, but the measles had hit inside.
sure.
And I was like really, really sick. And when I was in hospital, this man just didn't show up. So for me, that was like, yo, it's not the first time, but I'm definitely not going to let this continue. So I think that was my turning point. When I was in hospital, he never showed up. I had to call somebody to come and collect me after laying for almost 2 weeks in hospital. And then because I would have my mother or my colleagues would come to me. And then when I
Mm,
got home, I would be at home, go to my mother, because during the day they were scared because of me not breathing right. So while I
mm,
was busy healing, I was also seeing that this is a path of this marriage that needs to end because certain issues were more important for him than it was for me.
mm,
And once somebody, I don't say make me your priority, but at least show me that you care. And by you not showing up, and like you said at the beginning, love is not just a word, it's an action.
mm,
So these demons, as much as I'd like to sugarcoat it, I can't sugarcoat it because it eventually left me feeling destitute, as if
mm,
I was nothing. And that was my turning point. That if I am your nothing, then what is the point of us going on with this marriage?
mm. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, it's you guys met at 17, you divorced at, you said 32, I think. So
Yeah.
it's a long time. You've given the youth, you've given your youth and everything else, and you said the thing that made it was the friendship. And you specifically said afterwards it's the friendship that disappeared first. So ek dink dis ja, baie keer wanneer dit kom by divorce, praat van my mouth en as die ding, die soos you say, I don't ask you to be my everything. I came for the friendship. I at least expect us to, because we said whatever happens, we will remain friends, we will be friends, we will talk. And so when that kind of goes out of the window, I feel like ek het nie baie gevra nie. Ek het gevra by my two story house en almal daai goede. I just ask you to respect me. So yeah, ek kan definitief verstaan die frustraties en almal daai wat daar inkom. Um, as we busy ending off, what with everything that has happened to you, that did that affect what does a woman mean to you?
A woman to me is that we are very strong, we are resilient. We might be down for a day or two, but we always rise up. We always make things happen. And even more so if you're a mother, you know, you have your priorities are different. You do have your off days, you have your down days, but I think sometimes your child puts it into perspective to say, "Rug your reg, auntie." It's not just about you. And
Mm,
I think we need to feel what we feel as women because sometimes we suppress our emotions and
mm,
we're not true to ourselves. But as a
mm,
woman, I think that we are very strong. There's many things that could have broken us and didn't did not break us. And we need to surround ourselves with positive women, people that can motivate you, but most of all, people, women that can pray for you because that
mm.
prayer helps you.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And I mean, weer eens gister het gepraat met die vrou wat living with cancer and she mentioned the exact same thing. As sy altyd van sy voel lekker om het te doen nie, maar sy moet net doen, sy moet dit klaar kry. Sy kom daaroor, sy bid, sy support structures tienen, and then you will make it through just doing that. Um, jy het gesê you have been working for an organization for 12 years. Maybe you can just dig into that a bit.
I've been with the CCMA almost 21 years.
Oh,
Very interesting. I have a passion for the work that I do. All workplaces have their work politics, but I think because I've been there so long, I already know who is what, and we know not to step on each other's toes. It's an
yeah.
organization that deals with employment equity, labor relations, unfair labor practices. So for me, I'm a case management officer, and
Okay.
we deal with the queries and advices to a certain point and trying to resolve disputes that is brought in that we feel can be resolved before it reaches a formal hearing. So in terms of the LRA, that is what we are dealing with, disputes between employees and employers.
Okay. Okay, ek gaan nou nie aan noem opgestuur en dan gaan julle nou heeltyd stapla. Weet net julle kan vir Soraya vra en as jy hom uit so things of vra waar Soraya en praat julle met haar. So, yeah. Yes. Uh, do you have any other maybe just to end off any statement any pearls of wisdom vir ons vroue, dis besdaarom nou vroue maand, nee, that you maybe have for them?
My words would just be that do you be the best that you can be. You are never too old or too young to learn. I got my driver's license a month ago after doing lessons, and but you can do it. We can do it. We are placed on this earth to lead. We are leaders. We are there to motivate one another. We're there to pray for one another. I think as a woman, we should speak up and stop the silence when things are not right. Most women are quiet when there is abuse at home. And for me, I just want to say to the next woman, you've got this. You are strong, you are resilient, you are God fearing woman. And never stop being kind. Because that small act of kindness, whether it's a smile, whether it's helping somebody in the house or helping them spiritually or financially, it's a blessing on you. Don't let anybody take that away from you.
Ja, nou, julle kan na Soraya toe gaan, sy het hulle uitgehaal by CCMA, sy is baie by CCMA, ek sê vir jou, en hulle agree, so hulle sê, slimkop, nou kyk daar, as ek al iemand te dink, hulle sê slimkop, so, definitief, as hulle enige help moet keer met CCMA goede, employee en unemployment en allemaal dit goed, gaan vraag na Soraya daar, sy is 21 jaar daar, so sy ken nou by nou huis weer, uit haar kop uit. Sy hoef nie meer na die boeke te gaan kyk. Sy ken huis weg. But definitely, again, you end off with the thing that we ended off yesterday with. As ons is baie keer, ons is so behep met, het is nie met wat sport doen, ek weet nie, ja, jylle gaan nog, ek gaan nie sport en ek het nie bespoor nie, maar het is mekaar hard te sport, dan gaan wij, dan order wij, maar zeggen, ja, dat is wel waarde wat die aan de tafel doen nou ook. En ze zeggen, ja, hulle praat nie saam mekaar nie, hulle sit daar met telefone. Maar wat doen jy praat ook nie met die een ook aan jou nie, en jy hoef hom ook. So, we as women need to really treat life as a spa. You come in, you order, sy enjoy vir jou, sy kyk jou kos aan, as jy 'n salad wil hê, eet jy 'n salad, as jy gaan die fillet mignon vat, dan vat jy daai. Maar sy moet jou timing, en I know, because, hulle wat die burger vat, hulle kos gaan gouwer kom, sy wat die mignon vat, gaan moet langer wag. But then enjoy your food. Moenie kyk daar aan die kant, enjoy your life, enjoy who you are. As jou hare terugkrul, het is wat het is, meisie. Het is wat het is. As het stryd is, het is wat het is. You know, so paalfeesies is, daar is concealer en allemaal de goed, dan kry maar daar. But be happy with who you are, and be happy with your journey, and be happy with what you have. Just be happy, and in everything find the lesson, find the peace, and enjoy your life, because baie kere verwag ons die goedse van ons kinders af, and I'm happy that you went for counseling, and I'm happy that you found yourself again, and I'm happy that you are happy with you. That is good, because now you are going to raise a happy child. So bulak na saya is gaan hy a happy child wees, because you are happy, and you're showing happiness, and you're showing him how to be kind to yourself, so he's going to be kind to him, despite wat, en ek weet met my ma, dat baie keer, ja, maar jy kan 'n pa gehad het, en jy kan die gehad het, en die ander kinders het dit, en despite all of those other things, they will be happy because you are happy. They will be fulfilled in themselves because you are now fulfilled in yourself. As jy meer anger nie, was miskien gewees, as jy meer nie, ons is nou oor het, ons het gevoel, ons het iemand geslaan, miskien, you are now not poisoning yourself from the inside out anymore, and so your child will know to do better. En soos ek sê, my ma was 'n divorcee vir baie lank, but the lessons that she passed on to me was like, you know, you are still how to be a woman in a relationship, how to be a woman alone, be with yourself, know yourself, and I'm sure you're gonna pass on that same message to your children. So you will be good because you are good. Ons het nog iemand wat sê sy moet nou weer trou. En die gaan nou vir jou uitsmeer. Hy nee, sis. Ja, maar ons ja, I mean, my se knie raak droog. Hy sê wat mense sê, mens moet jou olie. Sy weet nie gaan nie olie vir koffie. But I mean,
I,
I'm
for
sure
me, no, for me, I think I always say if I get somebody, it will be sent from above because that's who you pray for and
yeah.
who you ask for. So at the point I'm in my life, I'm not looking for a relationship. Yes, does get lonely, but I have so much things in my life that fulfills me that is not yet an issue for me. So yes, I am single, but and I do get lonely, but it's not a priority right now. I have my son. He was busy in a movie. Um, so then
Oh,
I have my work, and then I have my family. So for now, I am sorted.
yeah, man. I mean, 'n rou kan maar op sy eie weet, maar jy nie altyd kaas of botter nie. Dit gaan mooi met 'n koppie tee. You don't have to kry die botter. Maar ek dink alles okay dat hierdie botter wat my nie rou moet kry. Maar ek sê vir nou gaan hy rol het kaal. Hy proe nog altyd lekker. En I mean, op koppie koppie tea dan sy sê so's fine. Sy sê so's fine. Ons gaan genooi word wanneer die troue is, obviously. Ek sal klein word, speel moenie worry nie. Ek is sê net wanne. So like to say, you are fulfilled and dis wat saak maak. Ek dink yeah, you mentioned a lot of good things. And there wasn't just throwing blame and all of these things. There was things of like I also needed to take accountability, and I think a lot of times we miss that. So ons wil net wys en dan begin jy kind of wys terug. But yes, again, we were reminded that divorce is a very difficult process to walk. And baie dankie weer eens for your truth and for your wisdom and for your time that you could join us all the way from Kimberley.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah.
Even though I was very anxious and nervous, I think you were part of my journey where I needed to say what I needed to say also. And at the point in my life where I am currently, you took me out of my comfort zone by inviting me on a live because I was previously invited and I declined. So thank you. I think the platform that you have and with the stories that you are letting everybody know, it does help. I've gone through them, and one can only learn from it and grow from the stories being told.
Ag baie dankie man. Ons dit sal kan gebeur het sonder julle nie, sonder julle stories nie. En ek is bly dat die space very comforting is vir julle dat julle dit toegelaat word om dit te doen. Dat daar nie baie druk op julle gesit word nie. So ek is bly dat ek op jou pad gekom het. Ek is part van die journey. So weer eens baie dankie vir jou tyd, baie dankie vir jou vulnerability, want dit is nie maklik om dit te doen nie. But like I said, with all of these women, they told us what they went through, but they left us with hope. And I think that is the big thing. That I feel like they feel like you left us with hope. So that I couldn't have done, that only you could do. So thank you for going through the process so that you can now be a mock for someone that is maybe still going through that process. So baie dankie vir dit. Die sê nou, alles al weer op jou kuis hier, laaste ding, what is nice van Soraya, I can clearly see growth. I agree. I totally agree. So, miskien gaan julle twee een van die dae context change because I feel like she went through the same thing en dan kan julle twee miskien nog verder buddies raak na dit and start with your journey further. But again, as we end off, I want to say thank you to everyone who joined. Thank you to Soraya weer eens for her bravery op die show te kom sit vir 'n uur. And like we said, for August month, we are trying to do the impossible. We are trying to interview a lady every night for the month of August, celebrating women, but also in a way bring awareness to the different facets and the different spheres we go through or phases we go through in our life. But niemand regtig op praat. Ons praat altyd vir ons man praat oor gender-based violence and yes, it's a big thing. Maar soos ons praat oor COVID, gaan mense mos hê die flu en hulle kry sinus en almal die goede, maar ons moet nog praat oor die sinus en die nails mos nou en die bommels en die measles uitskiet. So we need to talk about all of these things, the same with the phases that we go through our life. Yes, gender-based violence is big, but it starts with the small things like non-communication in a relationship. It starts with anxiousness in a relationship. It starts with illnesses that start in a relationship, and we need to discuss those things also. So tomorrow night, we're ending off Sunday with talking about mental health. We will have a youngish lady, they will talk to us tomorrow night about our mental health. Okay? So every night between 8 and 9, we have a incredible woman on talking about their life's journey, about the issues that they are tackling or maybe had tackled in this journey of called womanhood. So again, we want to say thank you to Soraya and we want to say good night to everyone who joined us. See you again
Thank you,
tomorrow night.
everybody, for having me. Blessed evening to all.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Bye.